All right, I think we're good to go. So good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone doing today? Good stuff. So welcome to the localization or the internationalization presentation. Let me just quickly introduce ourselves first. My name is Naveenan Murugesu. I'm an application development consultant with the developer relations team in Research in Motion. And he's my co-presenter. His name is Ekke. Ekke is a very active, well-known developer from Germany, and he's an expert in Cascades platform. Ekke?
It's okay, yes. I will talk later some words about me, and now Naveenan will give you some overview.
All right, so myself and Ekke will present the topic of localization. It simply means that how to take your application to the international market, supporting multiple languages. So let's see how you could do it in the BlackBerry 10 WebWorks platform and the Cascade platform. So take a look at this slide. These are the three main key takeaways from this presentation. So when you leave this room, if you remember these 3 points, that'll be a big win for you and me. The first point is BlackBerry is a worldwide phenomenon. Localization is easy in the BlackBerry 10 platform. We will see shortly how. And localization is something that you need to think from the start. So moving on. So this is the agenda of the presentation today. So we did the introduction already. Then we will look at why should someone consider localizing the application. Why should someone invest the time and money and making the app multilingual. And then we will look at some generic tips and tricks that developers, people normally use when localizing the applications. And then we will look at how the localization is done in the BlackBerry WebWorks platform specifically, followed by I have a very quick and a short demo to show you. After that, Ekkehard will take over the presentation, and he's going to jump right into Cascade, how the localization is done in Cascade, and then he's going to show us a demo as well. And at the end, we have a few slides on describing how to deploy your localized application to the BlackBerry app vault. And then at the end, we will have a question-answer period. You'll have about 10 to 15 minutes where you'll have a chance to ask questions, and we will answer them. So if you can hold your questions until the end, we'll really appreciate it. So sounds good? Let's get started. So the question you should be asking is why someone should or why you should consider localizing the application, making your application multilingual. I have some stats and numbers to convince you. So this is the first slide. We have over 565 BlackBerry carriers and distributors around the world in over 175 countries. We have over 80 million active BlackBerry subscribers worldwide. And the BlackBerry app vault is available in 170 markets. BlackBerry 10 smartphone will support 33 different languages. The BlackBerry Playbook currently supports 24 languages, but shortly after the BlackBerry 10 smartphone launch, it will also support all the 33 languages. We will look at the languages in detail shortly. And the BlackBerry app vault client for the smartphone supports 15 languages, and the BlackBerry app vault client for the Playbook supports 24 languages. And I have the details in the next slides. And here's another reason why you should really consider localizing it. All those countries in blue are the countries where the BlackBerry local coverage is in place or announced. They exist over in 175 countries. As you can see, it covers almost all of the world. These are all 33 languages the BlackBerry 10 is going to support. As you can see, pretty much all the major languages in the world are covered, including simplified and traditional Chinese, and Brazilian and European Portuguese. Likewise, the BlackBerry Playbook supports 24 languages at the moment, but just like I mentioned earlier, it will support all the 33 languages that the smartphone supports shortly after the launch. But right now, it's not too bad. It still supports all the major languages in the world. The Apple client supports 15 languages. Pretty much all the regions and major languages are covered. I have this slide just to show you some of the famous multilingual applications that we have for the BlackBerry smartphone right now. They exist in the BlackBerry app vault, and they are written in Java. If you can, go to the app vault and download this app and test it out. They are great applications, and they are written in Java. I just want to show you some of the samples, but we have tons of multilingual applications, just for you to get familiarized with. These are the languages that the BlackBerry Playbook client for the app vault supports. As you can see, pretty much all the major languages are covered. And likewise, these are some of the applications, some of the famous applications that we have for the BlackBerry Playbook in the app vault right now. Some of them are BlackBerry WebWorks applications, and some of them are Air applications, but all of them are multilingual, and each of them supports at least 7 different languages. They are available just for you to test out. So are you guys convinced right now why you should consider localizing it? If not, okay. I have some more numbers. These are some of the numbers from the BlackBerry app vault in the last 3 months. So the blue one accounts for revenue, and the gray one is actually for downloads. As you can see, 29% of the download over the last 3 months came from Asia Pacific region, where the primary language is not English, followed by 26% of the download came from South America, where the major language is not English, and then Middle East, 19%. Again, major language is not English. So here's another reason why you should really consider localizing it. Let's zoom into some of the activity in South America. Mexico accounts for 25% of the revenue, where the major language is not English, followed by Caribbean, 13%. English is not commonly spoken there. And Brazil, 11%. Major language is Portuguese. So the top 3 revenue-generating countries in South America are not the countries where English is the primary language. Europe, so 34% of the revenue come from UK, but France is not too far away. 20% of the revenue come from France, where the major language is French, and Netherlands, 10%, Dutch and Spain, 9%. So again, not English and different languages. Asia, Indonesia tops the chart by far. 50% of the revenue come from Indonesia, where again, English is not the major language, followed by India, 13%. And look at Australia. Australia is the only English-speaking country there, and they only generate for 7% of the Apple revenue in that region. So now we will look at some of the generic tips and tricks that as a developer you need to consider before localizing the applications. The first tip is what we call a pseudo localization testing. What does this mean? It simply means that you need to run a localization test before you actually start the localization process. Why is this needed? Here's why. This will ensure that your application is ready for localization. Also, this will ensure that your application does not have to be re-engineered to support multiple locale and languages. You also need to consider, does your application support double byte characters like East Asian languages? Does your application support Mid-East languages does your application support bidirectional languages like Mid-East languages, Hebrew? And does your application support local time date format, currency format, address format? I have some examples in the next slide. We can take a look. So this slide, I just want to show you some of the East Asian languages and the characters. So look at the Japanese and Chinese characters. They are very complicated in structure and display. So you need to consider this. And some of the bidirectional languages, Arabic and Hebrew. And look at the date formats. So this is the format that commonly used in USA and Canada, where we have the day, month, date, followed by the year. But England, they actually use a slightly different format. So they have the day, month, and the year. The Germans, they use a very similar format to ours, except they have a period between the date and the month. And French, again, they use a similar format to ours, except they have no period or commas whatsoever, and their days and months are not capitalized. So you need to consider this when you are distributing your application in these regions. You need to remember that you are developing your applications for mobiles, so you need to consider the screen size. Other languages may require more space than English. Here are some facts. Translating a text from English to German will increase the text length by approximately 50%. The Thai script claims more vertical space than any other languages in the world. The Chinese language will have a much lower character count, so you may need a larger font to display. The Chinese characters are much more complex in structure and display than the Latin characters. So these are some of the considerations. Take a look at this slide. It's the same screenshot across 3 different languages: English, German, and Chinese. As you can see, the German texts are consuming more space, and the Chinese characters are taking less space. So when you're designing a UI, you need to keep these little tricks in the mind. Leave room for expansion. What does this mean? When you're designing your UI fields like text boxes or button fields, you need to consider that other languages will need more spaces so you don't get the text being cut off or truncated. Here's an example. So the same text translating to German, you can see the text is being cut off simply because they don't have enough space. Font consideration. Sometimes using special fonts like bold or italic may affect the readability in some of the languages, like East Asian languages. And some fonts table may not include the characters needed for Russian and Polish. So that's a consideration. Importance of context. You need to be really careful when using short words or phrases in your applications. This can lead to confusion and errors during localization. Here's an example. We often use the word kill to refer to terminate or end the application in English. But kill in Chinese literally means kill a man or animal. So you don't want that. And H2, we see that often to refer for a second home phone number in some of the English applications. But in some languages, it's nearly impossible to find the short words like that. So you need to be really careful when choosing short words or phrases in your applications. So we have seen some of the generic tips and tricks that normally people use in localizations. So now let's see how localization is done in the BlackBerry WebWorks platform. But before we begin, I can tell you, it's really easy. It simply uses JavaScript, nothing special. So here's a cool feature that you can use. This feature will help you to localize the application icons itself. But the key point is you need to remember that the names of the localized icons must be the same name as the original, and they need to be stored in the appropriate subfolder. So in your config.xml, you would go specify the icon name, and then in your folder structure, you would create a folder for each locale, and you would just put the icon file there. And the BlackBerry WebWorks packager is smart enough to do everything for you. Depending on the locale, it will grab the right icon. And here's another cool feature. Actually, this is the most useful feature in the BlackBerry WebWorks platform to localizing it. This API, local API, you can use this API to retrieve the language setting from the device, also be notified when the language changes. The BlackBerry.system.language simply gives you the language setting from the device. And the BlackBerry.system.region will give you the region setting from the device. So you can use this to find out which locale the device is set to. And here's a new feature. It's not available at the moment, but it will be available very shortly. You can use this to localize the actual application name and the description. So your application name in your home screen, you can actually use this feature to localize it to the language that you want. But it's not available at the moment, but it will be available very shortly. So keep checking our WebWorks webpage. So we've seen how to localize the application icon, the description, and the name. So the question is, how do I actually localize the actual text within the applications? It's very simple. You simply use the JavaScript. This is the most common way to do it. All the code exists locally within the applications, and all the strings are in objects key value pairs. So take a look at this code snippet. So this is what we call a JavaScript dictionary. It simply have each locale, the keywords, and the translated text. And in the runtime, you simply use the inner HTML for the text phrase placement. That's it. That's how you're localizing it. I actually have a very quick, a very small demo to show you at the end. And here's another way to do it. I've seen some developers or some application using it, but this is not the most common way or the efficient way. This is where the JavaScript strings are defined dynamically in the server side. But like I said, the previous way is much more preferred and easier to do it. So now let's take a look how this demo is going to work. Let me tell you, it's very simple. So can we actually switch to this for the demo? Okay, perfect. So I wrote this demo very quickly. It has a very simple text, welcome to localization in WebWorks. It's English. So what we're going to do is, I'm going to minimize this. I'm going to go to the settings screen. And I'm going to go to the language settings. And I'm just going to change the chimp English to French. And I'm going to go back, minimize the setting screen, and go to this screen, and simply press refresh. It just works. So it is localized. So again, it uses the BlackBerry.system.language to actually retrieve the language setting. And then it simply uses the JavaScript dictionary to load the French text and render it. At this point, I will get Ekke to take over the presentation, and he's going to show how the localization can be done in the BlackBerry native or Cascade platform. Ekke?
Yes. So, Cascades and internationalization. Who am I? I'm Ekke from Germany since many years, developing in different languages, and now in C++, QML for Cascades. And I'm living in Rosenheim, this is south from Munich, and working as an independent software architect. I'm a trainer, speaker, writer, and you can reach me via my Twitter account or read my blog, and many of the blogs are about BlackBerry development. In the past, BlackBerry OS 7, and now in the next month you will see many informations about developing in Cascades. I'm doing business applications since more than 30 years, and this is always what I have done, business applications. And in business applications, you need internationalization. And so I have the pleasure today to tell you how you can do this with Cascades. Because if you are doing business applications, you are selling your applications internationally. You have perhaps departments in different countries. You have employees worldwide or employees in one country but speaking different languages. And sometimes you have also your content in different languages. And so you have to think about something. How do you persist your dates and timestamps? Don't forget the time zone. Otherwise, you could never compare them. And how to store your numbers and decimals, always unformatted. And you have to think about a currency. So how do you localize your Cascades QML application? What is there out of the box? And the good news is there's many things out of the box. It's really easy to do this, and we will take later a look at the bar descriptor and how to change application icons there, and the application name and description, or adding new languages. All is done directly in the bar descriptor. Here is, if you want to add some languages, simply click on the Add button and choose your language. And then you can have for each language different names of your application, different description, and even a different icon. Maybe you have different icons with other colors for different countries. Also, your splash screen can be localized, and all this can be done in the bar descriptor. Later in the project, in your Eclipse project, you will find a folder named Translations, and all the languages you have added, you will find there some files where you can translate the values. Here you see it at the right side. Here are all the files, and here DE, this is the German, English, French, and so on. And you see that there are two different kinds of files, .qm and .ts. You can forget the .qm. These are compiled versions, binary versions only used at runtime. You have to edit the .ts files. These are simply XML files. So you have to prepare your code to be to be able to make localization inside your Cascades. You need in your main C++ to include qlocal and qtranslator. And then you have to tell the translator the name of your files. And this is the prefix of all your translation files. You have to edit later. Then the translator is installed, and now the system is ready to do translations. So then you have to set your main application and inject the translator. And I have also a variable about the current locale. And then you can watch later changes of this current locale. You don't have to notice anything. All is open source project. You will get the URL later. All is at GitHub available. You can download all the sources. So how will this be done? How can text be translated? In C++, if you write something in C++, you only say tr, translate, and then your string settings. So everywhere where you are setting something like a title or an action or a tab or naming something, simply say translate settings, and it is singular in QML. You say qstr and then your string. And by magic, these strings will be put into the translation files where you can do the real translation then. There are some different ways you can add a command. Sometimes it will be that the translations will be done from other guys, not knowing much about the context of the application. And it is perhaps important if you are inside an address or inside an order or an invoice and name things in another way. And so in this command, you can write something that the translator later can read and think, this is this word in this language. Next part, in many cases, you need parameters. Perhaps you have to pay some value in some days. So we have two parameters, and we want to change and translate this. And the order of the parameters can be different in different languages. And so it is really easy. Here you say, this is my first parameter, and I will fill this parameter with this argument. The command is empty in this case, but you have to put this command here. In QML, it's similar, same syntax. Next thing, in some cases, you have singular and plural. Perhaps you have a folder, and you say, inside this folder, you will find one file or two files. And in different languages, the words are very different. And so this is something more difficult. You have two places where you have to add this. Here you have to add the information that this is a plural. And here is the argument which will put here at this placeholder as parameter. So how does it look in your translation file? Here you have at first a context, in this case the application, then you have a message, and you find information in which line this word appears, and here's the source settings, and here's the translation, and at first you get type unfinished. Type unfinished means nothing done, and the system will always use the origin source. You have to delete this and to insert here your translation. This is not very friendly way to do this in this XML file. I learned that there is a Qt translator editor, and I got the confirmation that there will be some information how to use this tool with these files to make it easier for you to translate, because I want to see all the languages together and all the values I have to translate and not go deep inside huge XML files to do this. So here is the translation done. You see the translation unfinished is deleted, and here is now my German translation. Here's how it looks if you have plurals. Then you find here a numerus like yes, and you have two lines. One line for the singular and one line for the plural. And in German, file and files is Datei and Dateien. And you see, for each case, you decide where will be the parameter replaced. Maybe it is different in different languages. And here's the example. Here's a list view where a folder is, and here's 3 Dateien, the plural, eine Datei, or 3 files and 1 file in English. Automatically done by this system, really easy. Here's an example how it looks like if you have a QML file with a label. And so this is what you heard before. You have to think from the beginning in your application that you want to localize this. And so not only say, my text is files. You have always think, oh, I have to translate this. I have to put my string inside this QSTR and then use your string. There are some other things you have to think about. What about dates, time, timestamp, and numbers? Seen they are different. Here's German and English, how you write a timestamp. You have support in C++, and you can use qlocale, and qlocale gives you a short format for a date, and this transforms your date in a localized date depending on the current locale. Same is with numbers. Here's numbers in German and in English, and again, qlocale gives you an information and transforms it to a localized string. And here again some examples. Here we have the German way to write large numbers, and here is the English way with a comma. Here's a decimal point, and you have different representations of the dates. As you have seen, always look at qlocale. There you will find all your transformations, and it's easy to do. And another point which is important for applications to have satisfied users, be dynamic. All must be happen dynamic. No button to click to say, now change the representation or so. This must be done automatic. The user changes on the device the language or the locale, and all must be automatically translated. Or he did it inside your application. Perhaps the device is set on English, but this user inside this application has to set the language to another language. You can do it inside your language. So always try to support this on the fly inside your application and immediately. You will find in my open source application that there's a settings seed preferences where you can change your language, and as soon as you hit the radio button and change it, all values are changed by magic in the complete application. How is this done? There's some magic. You have to add this to all your translations in your QML documents. We translate, and then there are different values on language change, on local change, and so on. And if you add this, Cascades will automatically do the translation on the fly. You change the locale, and they will be retranslated. You have to do nothing. In C++, it's the same. You can watch changing of the locale and then update things and only load a new translator with a new language, and then it will be translated. You want to get notified when the user changes the language on the device. I've seen it before in the demo from WebWorks. It's easy to change the languages. The old UI from the Beta 2, Beta 3 looks much nicer. And forget this slide. The notifier is gone. In Beta 3, there is no notifier to watch this. There is a Cascades locale handler, and you can say, I'm watching on system locale changed. I will blog about this in the next days after the conference, and also update my application so you can see how it works with Beta 3. So here's how you watch things in C++. You get a signal that the local is changed, and then you call your function what to do if the local should be updated. So some tips and tricks. You have to edit the .profile and have to see if all assets subfolder are inside your profile. Otherwise, there will be no translation. Here it is. Here you have add all the subfolders you are using perhaps in your assets. Otherwise, QML will not do this automatic retranslation. And there is a part about the translations. Here are all languages defined in the bar descriptor, and without this information in the .pro file, no translation files will be created. Next one, there is one root document. This root document without a suffix of a language. Never do any changes here, because this root document will always be new generated if you make the next build of your project. Another nice thing, perhaps you want to have in your applications some icons, some images different for different languages. You can even localize your image source. You have a path to an assets file, and you can say, I localize it, put the QSTR around this, and then you can use different paths to different images in different countries. So, we have not much time left. Please switch to the, okay. Fine. So, no, I need a, doesn't work? try again. So. Worked before.
Okay, maybe unplug the device.
Perhaps unplug the device. So. No, didn't work. Okay, doesn't matter. I've showed already most of the code here. So you have seen it's really easy to do. Jetzt ist. Hello. Here? No, this is this one.
That's what the device. Well, he needs to turn it on, I think.
Yes, he went out. Doesn't matter. We go back to the slides, please. Okay, you have seen it is really easy to do translations in Cascades and QML. And if you follow this from the beginning, then it's not much work. And the good thing about all of I've demonstrated here, all these sources are available at GitHub. It is from a real-world example. There's continuous development on this project. It's well documented, and Apache 2 license. It's the open data space project. We are at BlackBerry GitHub. And here's the link, open data space, Cascades. This is a client for Dropbox cloud service, similar to Dropbox, and gives all you developers the possibility to include cloud services in your applications. We will have an invocation framework with cards, and you have 2 GB of space, data space free, and also up to 5 users. There's also already user management, and the complete client is a Cascades client and will be always open source with Apache license, and this application is fully internationalization. All localization is there, and I will blog about this, about the architecture, about some features, and so you can read all what you have seen here for the Cascades sites. Go to this application, download, and copy-paste into your own application. But wait some days before I have done the huge changes from the new API of Beta 3. I think end of the next week there should be a Beta 3 compatible version online, and you can take the sources from there. So now I give back to the Naveenan to the last part about deploying these applications to the app world.
So we've seen how to localize applications in the BlackBerry WebWorks platform, and Ekke showed us how to do it in the Cascade platform. So let's take a look how you can deploy this application to the BlackBerry app world. So something to remember is that the main description of the applications must be in English. That's a requirement by the BlackBerry app world. However, there are ways that you can add supported languages and supported description. And here's the instruction to do it. I just have the simple instruction here, but if you go to the BlackBerry App World main page, they'll have a full instruction on how to deploy multilingual application to the app world. It's very easy to follow, but something to remember is the description must be in English. That's a requirement, the main description of the applications. And here are few other things. You need to submit the screenshots on each languages that you need to support. And you also need to ensure that your application description is consistent across all the languages we are supporting. And you need to be prepared to provide the required technical support in the required languages. And you also need to ensure that your application is available in the language in the region it's actually intended for. So going back to the three main key takeaways from the presentation that we mentioned at the beginning, the BlackBerry is a worldwide phenomenon with over 80 million active users in the worldwide. And localization is relatively easy for the BlackBerry 10 platform, specifically in the WebWorks and Cascade. And the BlackBerry App World provides an easy and efficient way to deploy and distribute your application to the BlackBerry App World. And localization is not something you can do at the end of your development cycle. It's something you need to start from the beginning. Oh, that's not mine. Actually, so that's pretty much concludes the presentation today. And we have about maybe 10 or 15 minutes left for the questions, answers.
Sure.
Sure.
Question for you. In the app world, is there actually a way to tell where your customers are, what region of the world they are? Is there an easy way to do that, or is that a new feature of the new data app world?
That feature is not available from the outside of the box, like something that you can just go get it. But if you actually contract the right team within the RIM, we can actually get you the information. I actually have a business card with me, so if you have any questions, anything that you want to know, you can email me, and then I'll be more than happy to put you in touch with the right team.
Sure. And I have another question for you. This is regarding Asian languages such as Chinese, Korean, Japanese.
Mm-hmm.
Is there any update on when, say, input methods might be available for those languages? Yeah. Are they on the roadmap yet? They are available.
Yeah. Yeah. So they are available right now. Yes.
What about localized layouts? For example, right-to-left languages that would want to switch the layout of your UI components around. The current dev alpha does not appear to actually do any flipping at all, but the BBOS 7 devices definitely do. And this is something we have to deal with in-app quite painfully right now.
So do you want to support the bidirectional languages?
Yeah, are there any, or will there be any mechanisms for localizing your layouts?
I have no idea that there's something in Cascades planned. Do you know something about this?
You're asking about UI mirroring.
Basically, yeah.
Yes. UI mirroring will not be available at the first instance,
Okay.
but we are obviously aware of it.
Will there be any easy way to implement it ourselves, like check some property, is language right to left, and if so, flip a style bit on a horizontal layout?
I don't think we have an API available for it as of now.
Okay.
But if that's really important, I can probably put in a feature request.
Well, if you care about the Middle East, it's pretty important.
Or Eastern Asia. So maybe you should put up the flip
Sorry?
I think at the moment you can have different layouts as attached objects and then make them visible and invisible depending from the locale. This could be a workaround.
Or I guess inspect the properties of your current locale and change a whole bunch of properties around accordingly.
Mm-hmm. But if you get the current region and the language of the device, you should be able to tell whether it's going to be bidirectional or not, right?
Yeah.
So we do have APIs for it, like the WebWorks have APIs that actually give you the language in the region. For example, it gives you like French, and whether it's French in Canada or France, like that. So you can get the language and the region. So depending on that, you should be able to figure out. Let's say if the, sorry? Yeah.
I have a question about that. Are we able to actually target the sub-language code in our application XML, our manifest? So we have, say, UK-specific icons?
Yeah. Yeah. So basically, the way to do is in your config.xml, you would specify the icon name, and then you would create locales for each, like EN US or France or anything. And depending on the locale set on the device, the WebWorks packager is smart enough to load the right icon.
In your demo session, you actually Is that possible to just change it within the application without affecting the global setting? Say for example, I set my phone to say American English.
Okay.
But say I have an application that I download somewhere and now I want to use it in Chinese without actually changing the phone.
So I mean, like you need to have all the translated text within your application.
Well, let's say if that application support, but let's say if I write an application that I want to allow the user to be able to change language
Without actually changing the language on the device. Yeah, that's totally up to your application level. Yeah, you can do it at the application level. Yeah.
And in Cascades, you have seen you can do it also at the application level, independent from the device language.
So, will we be seeing UI guidelines that list the non-Latin fonts so we can do art assets that match the proper typefaces?
Yeah, definitely. So we are still working on.
Time frame on that?
It will be ready for the launch. Yeah. So our docs team is really busy working on all type of documentation. So the best practices, UI guidelines for designing icons and everything will be available in our blackpredeveloper.com webpage. Oh, and something I actually forgot to mention is that I'm actually working on a sample to demonstrate the localization, like a bit more complicated sample, and I'll be uploading that to our samples repository in the GitHub. And also, I'll be writing KBs on this, and also blogs. So just keep checking our developer page, and you'll be getting more information on this. And also, like I have a business card with me, so if you have any other questions in future, you can always email me or call me directly, and I'll be more than happy to help you with any of this. So how was the session? Did you guys like it? Was it useful? Any suggestions for improvements?
Okay, thanks.
So do you have any comments or suggestions for improvements? Let's say, if you're presenting the same topic next year or the Bangkok, the Jam Asia, Europe, is there any room for improvement? Anything we should change? Oh, so put it on the GitHub or something like that? Okay. You want the business card? Yeah, sure.